Mariners win 5-4. They improve to 76 and 73 on the season, and they've taken 2 of 3 in the 4-game set with the Texas Rangers. Go over the scoring plays. Josh Rojas gets the Mariners on the board first with a sacrifice fly. Top of the third inning, though, Leody Taveras homers to right to score. Carson Kelly? Yeah, Carson Kelly. I keep forgetting Carson Kelly plays for the Texas Rangers. I literally just watched him play a game, and I still forgot about it. 2-1, but the Mariners tie it up in the third. J-Rod, homer to left, 2-2. Fifth inning, Marcus Semien homers to score. Again, Carson Kelly, 4-2. But in the bottom of the fifth, Luke Raley shellacks a homer to score big dumper, 4-4. And in the ninth, Randy Arozarena singles to center to score Victor Robles, 5-4. Mariners get the walk-off win, and boy, did they need it. I mean, every game now is basically a must-win. That's not technically true, but yes, it is. Like every loss we talked about, that nail's in that hammer, or that nail is not in that hammer. That nail is in the coffin, but the guy's got the hammer. He's just taking some breaks to finish the hammering. And hopefully the Mariners can be so hot over the final 13 games that the carpenter, I guess that'd be who was building a coffin or nailing down a coffin, gets fired. And we don't have to worry about it. I guess it would really be like the person in the coffin comes back to life. Either way, big win. Your negatives, Houston Astros win. Yeah, they're playing the Angels. They're not going to help you very much. Most teams are going to beat up on the Angels. The Seattle Mariners were not one of those teams in 2024. Super frustrating, but it is what it is. So you gain no ground on the Texas Rangers, or you gain ground on the Texas Rangers. You gain no ground on the Los Angeles. Wow. You gain no ground on the Houston Astros. Just name every other team until you name the right team, Chris. It's been a long day. I worked to 1 to 9. I'm super. There's a negative, the Apple Cup. Congrats, Coug fans. And thank you, Larry Scott, for making it so that I don't care as much about the Apple Cup anymore. So this one didn't hurt as much as others, but still. Congrats, Coug fans. A lot of you out there. Love you. Hate you today, but love you. Offensively, some negatives. JP Crawford had a rough one. He drew a walk, but not a great game. Jorge Polanco had a hit, but just doesn't look very good right now. Had a nice little stretch where he was looking nice. Every day I lean more and more towards, in fact, not even leaning, I'm more and more sure that you don't pick up that option. I think you got to look somewhere else for your second baseman next year. And don't be shocked if Jorge Polanco is great somewhere else. We've seen it a lot of times. But it's just not working here. And he's not good enough defensively to make up for what he's giving you or lack of what he's giving you offensively. So, yep, those are your negatives. The ultimate positive is, well, we could say that Simply Seattle's the ultimate positive, can't we? I got this hat from them. I really like this hat. The All-Star jerseys, blah. The All-Star hats, I liked quite a bit. And I got it from Simply in Seattle, and I saved 15% on my order because I used my own dang code. I used Mollywhop15, MOLLYWHOP15. It saves 15% off of your order. It's a great deal, and it's not just for Mariners. You can get Cougar stuff. You can get Husky stuff. You can get Seahawks. Anybody you're thinking of P&W-wise, you can get for the most part. There's some obvious exceptions to that. But Simply Seattle is the best for everything. SimplySeattle.com, MOLLYWHOP15 at checkout. Link in the description. Thank you again, Simply Seattle. I mean, you could probably put Logan Gilbert somewhere between the positive and negatives because 6 innings of 4-run baseball is far from terrible. You're hoping for better, in part because we have high expectations. I talked a lot about our expectations for Julio in the last video. We have unreal expectations for our starting pitchers, right? The starting pitchers for the Seattle Mariners. We have unbelievable expectations. And anything less than at least 6 innings and no more than 2 runs is going to come off as a little bit of a disappointment. Really only made the 2 mistakes, but they were big mistakes, and they went out of the ballpark. We need Logan Gilbert to pitch better than that. Fortunately, the offense was good enough to back him up, and he does get the 7 strikeouts, so It's somewhere in between positive and negative. Bullpen was good. Troy Taylor bounced back very nicely. Colin Snyder gave up a little bit of hard contact, but he was able to get the job done. Andres Munoz, solid, 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 solid. Only guys who struck out guys in those of those three was Troy Taylor. I've been super impressed with Troy Taylor. I know he gave up the home run on Thursday night. Had to think about what. It's been a long, long month already. How it's only September 14th is absolutely mind-boggling. But I've been really impressed with Troy Taylor. And those of you who are Maiwai enthusiasts, I've been talking him up. And occasionally, I know what I'm talking about. I get a lot of stuff wrong too. Like, being a Seattle sports fan. But Troy Taylor looks great. Colin Snyder's been fantastic all year. Andres Munoz, outside of a few blips, has been pretty darn good. Offensively, boy, a bunch of really nice games today. Luke Raley with the big 2-run homer. Boy, am I encouraged by what I've seen from him. I just need to see it on a consistent basis. And oh, how I wish he could hit left-handed pitching. He can't. So that's a problem. But he can hit righties. He can hit righties for sure. And overall, a 783 OPS. In 2024, a 783 OPS is the equivalent of about an 820, 830 OPS a few years ago. It's a strong number. Strong number. Very encouraged with what I've seen from him. To me, and we'll talk about this in the offseason when I do all my player videos, the big thing for him is, I don't know how you simulate facing lefties, but working hard on that and working hard at defense at first base. Because at this point, I think Luke Raley's your starting first baseman next year. A platoon with somebody, maybe Tyler Locklear, or maybe you bring back Justin Turner, who had another nice day today. 254, 350, 374. Again, not elite. It'll work. It'll get the job done. And if he's there to be not just a, partial clubhouse guy and partial lefty killer, there's a role there. There's a role there. The Mariners don't have enough. Boy, how are you going to keep this guy over this guy on their roster right now to say that you can't have a guy like that on your roster? It's not perfectly ideal because Justin Turner's just an okay first baseman, and that's all he can do because, for baseball terms, he's an old man. I'm older than him, which, I really don't like talking about that. But I think Justin Turner has done enough that I would certainly consider, if he wants to come back to Seattle for 1 year and a low price, because we have to acknowledge it is the Seattle Mariners. I want it. Where else can we go offensively? Big Dumper, 4 walks. That'll help the old OBP. 308 still not what I want from Big Dumper. I'd like to see him in that 330, 340 range. Heck, I'd like to see it in that I'd like to see it in that 620 range. But he's better than a 308 OBP guy. Is he better than a 213 average guy? I don't know. Just because of how often he strikes out and because of, you can talk all you want about how the shift has been banned or limited or whatever. It still exists. Rosarena. Now, only the one hit, and he was definitely, if he didn't get the hit in the 9th, going to be in the negative section. Although I will point out, 2 innings earlier, he hits into a double play. He hit the ball hard. It just hit the mound. It bounced right to the second baseman. Right to him. Ugh. But it ended up not mattering because he gets the big hit, the drawn-in infield, and we'll talk about why the infield was drawn in. It's a big hit. The Mariners had to win this game. Julio reaches 3 times, homers again. I think that walk ended up being pretty big because, and we'll talk about Victor Robles. I want to end with him because I just love him. And I love Julio too. I just spent a whole 5 minutes this morning with no internet talking about him in the latest Mile Y recap. I love Julio and I love what I've seen from him, especially these last few games. But really, for his whole career, there's been downs, no question about it. I've called him out on those downs. Not like it affects him, but I don't know why sometimes I feel like I have to be defensive with my love of Julio Rodriguez. That's weird. It's really weird. Anyway, really good game from a really good baseball player. Victor Robles, man. I don't think we are giving him nearly enough credit for what he's done for the Seattle Mariners. You know, he comes up in that ninth inning with one out and he hits that double. And then he steals third base for the second time. And he's now 11 for 11 in stealing third base. And with one out there, like not all stolen bases are equal. You steal a base when you're down 3 runs and it's just second base and there's 2 outs. Okay, it helps. It definitely doesn't hurt, but it helps. When you steal a base in a tie game with 1 out and that stolen base gets you to third, oh, that's as high leverage as it gets. And he wasn't close to being caught, I should say. But he gets to third base, and the big thing there is too, they were willing to pitch to Julio. They changed their mind. I don't blame them one bit. They issue that walk, and big dumper. None of those pitches particularly close, but he doesn't swing at anything outside of the zone. He draws that walk, and Rosarina gets the job done and drives him in. That's what we're looking for. That's not just what we're looking for to end the year. And don't get me wrong, we're still playing for 2024, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that's kind of what we're looking for to see for 2025 too, right? Because all those guys are going to be back, barring something unforeseeable. I sure hope all of them are back. And yes, that includes a Rosarina, even though it's been a mixed bag at best. I still want Randy Rosarina back on this team. But that's what you're looking for. You know, you're 1 through 5 right now of Victor Robles, Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Randy Rosarina, and Luke Raley. I'd like to add one more bat to put in between those guys, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Is it good enough? Probably not, but it's not bad. It's not a bad core. It needs 1 or 2 more players. In particular, I would love to have Raley hitting closer to 7th, just because he's shown over the last couple of years he's an extremely streaky hitter. But I want Victor Robles leading off for the Seattle Mariners next year. I was pretty dead set on Julio Rodriguez leading off for the Seattle Mariners. I think I want Julio hitting 4th next year. And I want Big Dumper hitting 5th and a Rosarina 6th and Raley 7th. And you get somebody to hit 3rd. An established star to hit 3rd. There's one guy in particular I'd love to see. It ain't going to happen. But it's not bad. It hasn't been consistent enough this year. And of course, it hasn't been together enough this year. Victor Robles was a part-time player until, start of June. They brought in a Rosarina just before the deadline. And Julio has had his ups and downs by result, especially. So, you get the win. You get the chance for the series win tomorrow. And then let's talk about the ultimate positive. As much as I love Simply Seattle, I'm putting this ahead. Got to pull it up. The Twins lose. The Tigers lose. And so that means the Mariners are now 2.5 games back and 2 wins back of the Minnesota Twins. They're tied with the Detroit Tigers. Tigers have the tiebreaker. Twins have the tiebreaker. So you have to finish with a better record than them. But that's only 2.5 games now. That's 2 games ahead of where they are with the Astros. Now, the difference, of course, is that you get 3 games with the Astros. And I know a lot of people will just shake their head at this, but hey, it's still a shot. It's still a shot that if you sweep the Astros and if you're only 3 games back in that series, you control your own destiny again. You don't control your own destiny with this at all, other than the fact that there are just enough baseball games left that if you play unbelievably good baseball, you've got a shot. Right now, The Twins have 14 games left to the Mariners 13. They're 78 and 70. So if the Twins go 500, that's 85 wins. It's 85 and 77, which means the Mariners have to go 10 and 3 over their next 13 games. Hard, not impossible. Not impossible. We have seen much weirder things happen. And Minnesota has not looked good. Now, they did just get Carlos Correa back. They got Byron Buxton the day before that. But there's issues with that team. The Detroit Tigers are still a team that has, look, they have arguably the best starting pitcher in baseball right now, it's Rick Skubal. But they've got issues too. Believe it or not, even though they've played extremely well as of late, and they just beat the pants, beat the shells, I don't know what that means, off of the Seattle Mariners. And also, I'll just point out Detroit's schedule. Now, they end with Chicago, but they've got Kansas City. They got one more game against Baltimore. Then they got Kansas City, Baltimore again, Tampa Bay. It's not easy, even though Tampa Bay is pretty much, they're ready to go home. But it's starting to look like if the Seattle Mariners can go 10 and 3, and it's more than possible, they're kind of due for a 10 and 3 run. They've got a shot. They've got a shot. Their best path is probably still the American League West, even though it's 2 games behind, just because of those 3 games. And for everybody who says they can't sweep the Astros, I say you're probably right. But you literally can't sweep the Twins, and you literally can't sweep the Tigers, because guess what? You don't play them. You got to get it. I just want that week to matter. I just want that week to matter. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Yes, I do. I'm exhausted. And my head hurts so freaking bad. But I just want it to matter. I've waited so long. We have all waited so long. And I feel bad about these videos where I've said it's over and the proverbial fork and all that stuff. Because I'm probably right, but I don't want to be. And if you have enough nights like tonight, enough nights like the night before, just maybe, it'll matter. I'd really appreciate you hitting like on the video. I'd really appreciate you hitting subscribe if you haven't. It helps a lot. My Hawaii enthusiast, I forgot to promote this, but my top 15 prospects for the month of September, the updated list is up. I'll probably promote it on Twitter Monday. Gets kind of lost in the crowd over the weekend, but that is up. I literally finished recording it as my internet went out. By the way, for those curious, it was a logging truck that crashed into a bunch of wires, and they put the estimated time. It happened at 1:30. They put the estimated time update at 4:30. And then all of a sudden it became as soon as possible. And then it didn't come up until 7:05 in the morning. And I went and drove by it at about 5:00 because I had to. Because the only way I could upload that video was I don't get cell phone service where I live. So I had to go drive around to let the video upload. Never think that I don't care about you guys. And it looked bad. It looked really bad, but they got the job done. And so did the Mariners. This video's long enough. I love you guys so much. Back again Sunday. They're still in it.